Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something incredibly raw, deeply personal, and honestly, universally recognizable. We are going to look at the transformative nature of just a single diary entry about learning a language. Specifically, we're diving into an entry marked simply as Day 3, titled Beyond Fear, the Quiet Birth of English Fluency. We often talk about the mechanics of learning a new skill, right? But we rarely get such an intimate front-row seat to the exact moment a learner's mindset shifts from total paralyzing doubt to quiet determination. Let's walk through exactly how this happens.
Listen to this admission. 3 days ago, I couldn't even say simple English sentences confidently. It's just such a stark, honest confession. The author literally spells it out for us. They were scared of grammar, terrified of pronunciation, and completely paralyzed by the idea of making a mistake. It perfectly captures that exact fear that stops most of us from ever starting a new skill, doesn't it? It's that fear of not being perfect right out of the gate. But what makes this diary entry so incredibly fascinating is that it documents the precise day this feeling changed. It wasn't like their English suddenly became perfect overnight. It just felt different.
Section 1. The Beginner's Fear, the Paralysis of Perfection. Okay, to really understand how this internal shift happened, picture the setting for a second. The author opens their laptop at night. They're sitting in the exact same room, on the exact same chair, looking at the exact same notebook. Physically, absolutely nothing had changed from the days where they were totally frozen by the fear of messing up. But internally, they hit a massive breakthrough. Here it is. English is not about speaking fast, it's about speaking clearly. They finally realized this. Right alongside another huge revelation, most people are not judging you nearly as much as you think they are. This cognitive shift was the key. It finally pushed the learner to stop passively watching language videos and make the terrifying leap to actually start speaking.
Section 2. The Camera Challenge, the Crucible of Practice.
So this is where we transition from just thinking about it to actually doing it. The author made a firm decision. Even if their English was totally broken, and even if their sentences were completely backwards, they were going to turn on the camera and introduce themselves. They booted it up and attempted this script. My name is, I am learning English. This is my day 3. Look at how incredibly basic these sentences are. I mean, on paper, it's just a handful of simple words, but actually executing them out loud directly into a camera lens when you're already battling a ton of anxiety over pronunciation and grammar, that is a completely different story.
20. It took almost 20 full minutes just to properly record those 3 basic lines. Think about that for a second. 20 minutes of wrestling with just a dozen words. It brutally highlights the striking reality of being a beginner, doesn't it? The journey isn't smooth, and it is definitely not fast.
During those grueling 20 minutes, the author faced a total gauntlet of frustrations. First, they forgot words. Then, they struggled with pronunciation that just felt completely alien in their mouth. And sometimes, well, the struggle was so overwhelming that they just completely froze and stared silently at the lens. We've all been there, right? Staring at a screen, wondering if you somehow forgot how to speak entirely, or maybe dreading a certain green owl sending you a passive-aggressive notification. It is just a universally frustrating experience.
But here is the absolute turning point of the whole journey. Despite the forgotten words, the weird sounds, and the awkward silent stares, they didn't quit. The author specifically notes that before this attempt, every single time they failed, they just stopped learning entirely. Failure used to mean the end of the road, but this time, they stayed. This major behavioral shift, that grit and resilience, is what actually makes Day 3 so special.
And this resilience translated directly into their actual lesson for the day. Think about the 5 specific vocabulary words they focused on. Confidence, improve, practice, fear, progress. What's so striking here is how these aren't just random, boring words from a textbook. They serve as deeply personal, thematic anchors for their whole journey. They are quite literally learning the vocabulary to describe the exact psychological battle they are fighting in that very moment. It's amazing.
Section 3. Beyond Perfect Grammar, the Anatomy of Communication.
Because they stayed in the fight and because they refused to quit, they arrived at this incredible epiphany. I don't need perfect English to start speaking. This single sentence just echoed in the author's mind all day long. Honestly, it's the core realization of everything we're looking at today. The author plainly states that this thought changed something inside me. It gave them permission to be flawed. It helped them move past the obsession over what is being said to a profound understanding of how real communication actually works.
Armed with this fresh mindset, the author started paying real attention to how native speakers actually talk. If we compare the old, paralyzing beliefs, the rigid demands of perfect grammar, speaking fast and having flawless pronunciation, with their new realizations, it's like night and day. Communication isn't just about grammar. It's about energy, expression, and even the pauses. Native speakers use emotion and confidence just as much as they use vocabulary. True communication requires clarity and consistency way, way more than it requires absolute perfection.
Section 4. The Beauty of Beginning, Embracing the Journey.
Later that night, sitting down to watch those hard-fought recordings from the past few days, the author makes a fantastic observation. My English still sounds weak, but day 3 me is already better than day 1 me. They finally recognize that the progress is real. Sure, it is undeniably slow, but it is absolutely real. Comparing yourself to where you were just 2 days ago, that's the metric that actually matters, even when your skills still feel a bit shaky. And this realization leads to such a wonderful moment of newfound acceptance. They're right, maybe 1 year later I'll watch this video and laugh at my mistakes. But maybe that's the beauty of this journey. They're completely done running from the fact that they're a beginner. In fact, right after this, for the very first time, the author states with genuine vulnerability, I truly believe I can do this.
They remind themselves, and really, by extension all of us, of this vital universal truth. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner. The author fully acknowledges that today, they are still a beginner, but the massive, undeniable victory of day 3 is that they are no longer afraid of being one. They successfully bridge the mental gap between novice and expert just by accepting their starting line.
So, I want to leave you with this ultimate takeaway. You are allowed to be a beginner. You are totally allowed to have broken sentences, strange pronunciation, and awkward moments where you stare silently into a camera for 20 minutes. The only thing that truly matters in the end is that you don't quit. So, think about whatever skill you've been putting off because of that paralyzing fear of perfection. What will your day 3 look like? Thanks so much for exploring this with me today. I'll catch you in the next explainer.